Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this month's webinar. Today, we are going to learn how to create inspections in the field. So let me first just make sure I've got everything up and running, and I do. I've got both screens going. We've got a lot to cover, but I think that today's webinar is what a lot of you have been asking for, and I'm hoping that after today, you are super excited with what you see and we can get this all enabled inside of your instance. So before I get started, for those of you who I have not spoken with before or met, my name is Jennifer Doyle, and I'm a co-founder and the Vice President of Customer Success and Support here at InspectPoint. So welcome again. Like I said, I'm really excited to show this new feature. And the fun thing is that it can actually be applied to not only the inspections, but also service as well. So any of my service module folks on here, I'm going to give you a little preview as well, that this can be applied to inspections and service. So before we hop into it, I'd just like to do a little bit of housekeeping. So you may notice that you cannot speak right now. Unfortunately, if you were trying to ask me a question, I cannot hear you, and I'm sorry I'm not responding. But everyone is muted. But with that said, I love questions. Love them, love them, love them. So please, if you have any questions, please drop them in the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel that's most likely on the side of your screen and probably blocking something for you. But go ahead and drop those questions in there, and we will address any and all of the questions that come up after the presentation. So, most importantly, before we hop into it, I love a good agenda. So what will we cover today? I want to go over with why would you want to create inspections in the field, right? So essentially, why is this an important feature? Why is this helpful? I'm going to show you how to create those inspections in the field for existing buildings. And then this is the one I think people are going to be very excited about, is how to create inspections in the field for a new building. And this can also be applied to our service module as well. So this should really read how to create inspections and service tickets in the field for a new building. So something that does not exist inside of InspectPoint, I am going to show you how you can not only go ahead and perform that service ticket or that inspection, but also add that new building in the field. And then most importantly, you may love what I'm about to show you, and you're going to say to yourself, how do I get this set up in my instance? And I'm going to show you and tell you how you can get this enabled inside your instance so you guys can start creating inspections in the field for existing and new buildings. So without further ado, I am going to hop over onto my other screen. Today is an iPad-based training or overview. So on my screen over here, I have my iPad for us to see. Let's just say we're going to pretend together. I am out in the field. I am about to start my day. I pull up my schedule. I pull to refresh, and I don't see my inspection. Or maybe I'm getting to the end of my day. I've got this one started inspection, and I get a phone call. You have to go X, Y, and Z building. We need you to do an inspection. Or you need to go to X, Y, and Z building. I need you to do a service visit. Well, maybe the back end does not have time to dispatch out that, or maybe you are the back end and the iPad user, and you don't feel like logging into the back end of InspectPoint, dispatching out the inspection, and then coming back out onto the app. Now, if any of those scenarios pop up, once this is enabled, you will see the lovely little plus button next to those 3 columns on your instance of InspectPoint on the iPad app. So next to future, you'll see a plus button. To add an inspection in the field, you'll go ahead and tap that plus button. Once you do that, up on the screen is going to see inspection, and if you have service module enabled, you'll see that service visit. Now, the service users, you are probably used to doing this. You can create those service visits in the field, and it'll work just the same as it always was. But for my inspection folks right now, we're going to go in and we're going to tap inspection. I'm going to see this box pop up right here. This is where I'm going to now go in and I'm going to search for my building. And I've got to go to JD Yoga, I search, the building pops up, I locate the building. I'm going to see all the details for the building that exist in the back end currently, right? I'm going to see the building name and the address, but I'm also going to see all of the systems, all of the assets, the backflows, the fire alarm systems, the extinguishers, exit signs, and clean agent system that exist on this building. What I'm going to do is first and foremost, before I select anything on this inspection, I need to indicate the frequency of the inspection because, as we all know, the frequency is going to determine the questions that we see. So I know that I'm going out to do an annual inspection. I need the annual questions to display. I'm then going to go ahead and say, okay, this is for my wet, dry, and pump. I don't need to do anything else while I'm out there, and I'm going to click save. And when I do that, it is going to create my inspection for me. It will look just like it would if it was dispatched from the back end, right? I'm going to see my building listed there. I'm going to see the time as right now. That's the time of inspection because I just created it. So I will see that it's an annual frequency. And then on the right-hand side of my screen, I'm going to see what it is that's part of the inspection. So when I set up on that pop-up what the inspection is, it's an annual of a wet, dry, and pump. I'm going to see over on my right-hand side the wet system, the dry system, the pump. I'm going to see the contact that's on the building, and I'm still going to see those previous inspection reports. Now, I perform the inspection like normal. Nothing changes from adding the inspection in the field. You would still come in, perform the inspection just as you normally would, clicking on all the different forms, the different systems, answering your questions, documenting those deficiencies, and then submit the inspection back. So adding the inspection in the field does not change the actual inspection process at all. Now, let's just say you, for whatever reason, right, there's a ton of stuff going on. You accidentally select annual and you need a quarterly inspection. You loaded the wrong questions. It's not the end of the world. You're not submitting this inspection back, right? You're in there. You're like, oh man, ugh, I selected the wrong frequency. Yikes. All you have to do, swipe left, delete that inspection, and just start over again. Click inspection, find the building again, search for it, add it, and select the frequency. And then just reselect everything. And now it's going to load your quarterly questions for you. So as long as you don't submit it back, or even if you did submit it back, you can say, oh man, guys, ignore that. I'm going to send a new one in. It's just as simple. Like I said, once you create it, it's there and you perform it as normal. Now, let's just say you get a phone call, right, that you have to go do an inspection. The office doesn't have time to create the building and you just have to go out there. Maybe they email you an old inspection report. Or maybe you are the office and the iPad, right? Maybe you don't have a full office staff that can help load in all of your inspections and you want to get out there and just start using Inspect Point right away. Or maybe it's a brand new building. You know the address and the building name, but you know no details about it. You can now create a building in the field and then perform the inspection at it. So to do this, you would go ahead and click the plus button just like you would before, right? I'm going to indicate if it's an inspection or if it's a service visit, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tap inspection. I have no building to search for, right? Because this building does not exist in the back end of Inspect Point right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click that plus button again next to it. And now I am going to create the building in the field. Like I said, this also works for service, so I will show service super quick, even though I'm going to focus on the inspection side here. I'm going to create the building, and when I create this building and submit the inspection back to the office, it will add it as a new building with all of the systems and assets, all of the alarm systems, equipment, extinguishers, valves, all the lovely information that I built in the field will get sent back. And then the office just has to create the inspection series or whatever they need to do going forward. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, create my new building. And I'm going to add the details for it. And I'm just adding the building details. so that way when this gets sent back, this is a brand new building and I will be able to create those inspection series going forward on it, or it's just a one-time inspection, but I at least have this now as a building in my instance of Inspect Point. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Woo! We have a new building. It does not yet exist in the back end of Inspect Point because we have not submitted the inspection back, but what we've just done is created the new building, given it its name and giving it its physical address. Now what we're going to do is, you'll notice it's a little different than when we created the inspection before. Because that was a previous building inside of Inspect Point, we had all those details for it, right? We knew there was all those different inspection or all those different system types. We knew there was a fire alarm system. We knew all of that. And we would select the frequency and then pick that. But now what we're going to do is first select the frequency because we're going to add stuff in the field, but we first need to say when we add it, what questions do we want to load? I'm going to do an annual at this building. I know I'm going to do an annual. I'm going out and I see my fancy new building, my awesome new building that I just added, and it's going to be blank, right? I have not added anything to this building. I have simply just created it and it lives on my iPad right now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Inspect. When I click Inspect, I will just see my valves and equipment. By default, those are sending. I am now, though, going to add what is at the building. So based on whether it's being a new building and I'm walking around and I'm noticing the systems and assets and alarms, extinguishers, etc., I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click the plus button in the upper right-hand corner. When I do that, I'm going to see what I have available to add to this building. So just switch things up a little bit. Maybe this is not a sprinkler inspection. Maybe this is a fire extinguisher inspection. So I'm out here, very first time creating the building. Before I can go ahead and add all those fire extinguishers, I'm going to tap that fire extinguisher group, give it a name, click Save, tap into my fire extinguisher group, and start adding all my fire extinguishers and inspecting them. Let's just say I back out of this and maybe it's a fire alarm inspection that I'm out to do. I'm going to tap that plus button. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that fire alarm system and I'm going to give it a name. Click Save. I'm going to go ahead, jump in, and I'm going to start performing my fire alarm inspection. So I'm going to go ahead and, I just want to make sure, is my audio okay? I just got a little indication, so sorry about that, guys. Let me just make sure my audio is still good. Okay, perfect. If at any point in time my audio goes out, just send a little message in the message box. I've got those over on the side, so I'll keep it up. So if you guys can't hear me at any point, just let me know. But like I was saying, I can go ahead and I can add in the alarm system. Let's say I did want to add a pump, anything I need on this inspection, I'm adding it in the field. But when I click into any of those items, I'll go ahead and just add a wet system. I go in, I'll add those. It's going to load annual questions because when I set up this building for the very first time, I indicated that it was an annual inspection. Now, when I send this inspection back to the office, I would send it back just as normal, right? So I'd collect my signatures, finish the inspection. I'm connected to an internet connection right now, so I'm just going to send right to the office. It's giving me a warning because I haven't answered all my questions. I'm going to go ahead and just complete that inspection, and it's going to start sending it back to the office. Now, not only will this show up as an inspection, right, that's waiting review, the office can generate the report. It will also be added as a brand spanking new building inside of my instance of Inspect Point. Now, really quick too, for my service folks, you can do the very same thing with your service visits in the field. You can create that building now in the field. So if you are on call and you get that emergency call, or the office, if you're in the office side and you're like, thank goodness, right? You've got that person, they're on call, they get that call and that building does not exist inside your instance of Inspect Point. No problem now. You can have them go in, click that plus button, click service visit. Oh no, I don't see the building there. They're going to go in and add that building. I'm just going to do awesome building 2. I won't go ahead and add all the details, so you do not have to sit here and watch me type this whole thing. Oh, never mind. It wants me to add that information. So I'm going to go ahead and just add that information again there for you. Trying to cheat the system and it won't let me cheat. So you guys will have to bear with me on this one. Just the zip code left. And voila, I can start creating my service visit. Now, once again, when I submit this service visit back to the office, it's added it as a building now. And I can now perform a service visit, create a work order for a building that did not exist inside of Inspect Point before then. So, like I said, this is something I know the service side has been asking for, especially for those, like I said, emergency calls, right? And the building's not in there. At the same time, though, the inspections, what's really nice about this, creating the building and inspection in the field, is that, like I said, if you just want to get out there and you don't have a full team behind you, that's okay, right? You can now go out into the field and put all of this together, create your building, add the information, and start building your back end of Inspect Point while you're out in the field doing the work. Or even if you do have an office side, you can just have people out in the field creating the back end from the field while they're out there. So let me just pull this over. I'm going to pop over onto my other screen there, and we'll just kind of recap. I do have a couple of questions sort of already in here. So if you do have any questions that might have come up while watching this, please, please, please submit them and drop them in the questions box. I'm going to start reading a couple of them now. But if any other ones come up, just let me know. Additional systems to an inspection you create. Perfect. Okay, so the question was, can you still add additional systems and assets to the inspection you create in the field? I got to, never mind, you already answered it, but I'll just recap that too. So yes, if, and you still add additional systems to the inspection you create in the field. Yeah, so like, let's just say it's a building, right, that exists inside your instance. You select a wet, dry, whatever maybe the back end has created. It's your first time going out. They forgot to send the inspection, or for whatever reason, there's no inspection there. You select what you need, you get on site, it's your first time there, and you're like, oops, there's actually 2 wet systems. You can go ahead, add that second wet system, and then it'll add it to the building going forward. So the big thing is anything you add in the field, it'll add it to the building. And so there isn't that extra step or duplication that needs to take place. I can definitely send a tutorial. So this is something that, so the question was, can you send a tutorial to our techs to review this later? I'm definitely working this up as a video. I'm a training video. So you'll get a copy of this afterwards. You can definitely just send this over to your technicians. I will also upload this onto YouTube, but I am in the process of putting together a formal training video on this. So it will become part of the training curriculum that your technicians can go through our teachable training. All right, so I've got a couple more questions. How about starting an inspection as part of an inspection series? So that's a good question. This is essentially creating a one-time inspection in the field. So if in this case, say the inspection is part of a series and maybe the inspection didn't make its way to the iPad for whatever reason, your series is still going to continue to go as normal. But this is essentially like creating a one-time, like I said, essentially creating a one-time inspection in the field. It's not going to add to a series, and it won't interfere with your series at all. Another question is, can you limit this feature to only add an existing building only? Yes. I'm just trying to think about the features and how I enabled this. So yes, so there's a 2-part enablement of this of this feature. So and I'll get to this too, like how you'll enable this feature. There's two parts. You can either enable inspections to be added in the field, or you can have us enable inspections in the field and buildings in the field. So if you only want inspections in the field enabled and you do not want to give the technicians the ability to create buildings in the field, you'll just want to let us know that you just want inspections in the field enabled. So I should probably talk about that, right? All of you, in case you've got things to do and you wanted to jump off, how do you get this enabled? It's a good question. um, just email support@inspectpoint.com. That is that just let them know. So email support@inspectpoint.com and let them know, hey, I watched the webinar today, and you'll want to let them know which two if you want both enabled or just one. So if you would like your technicians to be able to add buildings in the field, brand new buildings, and create inspections in the field, let them know that you want buildings and inspections enabled for the field. If you only want your technicians to be able to add inspections and not add buildings, then just let us know that you just want us to turn on inspections in the field. So you do have a little bit of flexibility on there. So that is a very good question about being able to limit the feature. Let me just see, we got another one. When adding a new building in the field, can we input the customer name, billing info, and phone numbers we will need for billing that new inspection or service? That is a good question. Right now, no, you cannot. Right now in the field, what we're looking for is just kind of like the fast and dirty, right? So we're just looking for building name, address, frequency, and what it is that you're inspecting. It's definitely something that we can look to add, but just based on what we were working with a few customers on, it was just that they didn't want the technicians to have to deal with the billing information and contact information. But I can definitely add that as a feature request to see, not required. So if the tech doesn't answer it, they don't have to. But I can look to see if we can get that information to be part of the building creation process as well. Let me see. Can a tech delete values that are entered incorrectly? So right now the technicians cannot delete in the field. So if they do add a system in the field, and let's just say they selected wet system and it's a dry system, they would add another system, select the dry, and then they would just need to rename the system in the back end, like delete for the wet system, so that before it's kind of sent to the customer, that system can be removed, and the report can be generated without that. So right now the technicians cannot delete in the field anything that's been entered incorrectly. Good question. Someone's wondering, is there any cost to add this module? And the good thing is there's no cost. Yay! So this is a free feature, free upgrade, free module that you can just add. So it's really, really just about being able to make it so that you guys can really do as much as you need to be able to do to get done what you need to get done. So no cost for this. All you have to do is just email support@inspectpoint.com and let us know that you want this feature. Like I said, let us know, do you want inspections and buildings or just inspections in the field? And yeah, just let us know. We'll turn it on, and there will be no invoice being sent to you to add this to your instance of InspectPoint. Any other questions out there? I'll keep it up for a minute. I do see a hand raised, but unfortunately I can't, I know it's weird, but I can't click on the hand raise to get the question. So if anybody has any additional questions, just drop them in that questions box if it's possible. I do apologize. Like I said, I see a hand raised or two, and I unfortunately can't click on it. All right, perfect. Okay, so someone was just asking, how do you get this set up, right? So how do I set this up for you to be able to make an inspection? So once you enable this feature, right, it's enabled, and then I'll just quickly go back over to, oh, perfect. No, it just says feature not enabled. So if you're clicking on that button, and it's saying feature not enabled. There we go. Feature not enabled. Then just go ahead and email our support staff. So it's support@inspectpoint.com, and just let them know, hey, I want that inspections in the field feature enabled. If you want to be able to create buildings in the field, just make sure you also say, I also would like to be able to add buildings in the field, and we will turn on both of them. If you only say inspections, we're only going to add the inspections one, just because we know not everyone wants buildings enabled, buildings to be created in the field. So just make sure you've got that information. And the email address again is just support, SUPPORT, right? Yes, SUR. Yep, at inspectpoint.com. So support@inspectpoint.com. Do each users need? Okay, this is a good question. So does every single user need to email to let them know? That's a great question. So no, this is company. This I should have mentioned this. This is a great question. This is company wide. So this will impact your entire instance. So just keep that in mind. So when you email us, it will go across your entire organization. So once you ask for this, and once we let you know that it is enabled inside your instance, we're just going to ask that you have your technicians log out, log back in, just to make sure everything syncs up correctly. And then it'll be going from there. But that's a great question. Everybody does not need to email. Just one person from the organization will turn it on for your organization, and then it's available for all of your technicians. Perfect. Do we have any other questions? Good questions on this. I know personally on my end that I was very excited to do this webinar today. With speaking with people over the last couple of months and years, I know that this has been something that a lot of people have been asking for, not only on the service side, but like I said, on the inspections side. Like I said, maybe you don't have a full office staff behind you to enter things in, or you just want to go out there right away and start performing inspections. Now you can. You don't have to have it, you don't have to have the building created in the back end. You can do that from the field now on the inspection side. So I'm not seeing any other questions come in. I do want to thank everybody for attending today. Thank you for the great questions. Every time I do one of these, I always am so happy. I always leave each one of these and go back and tell the entire team about all the great questions that I've got. And so I can tell them successfully the same thing has happened this time. There's lots of really great questions. Like I said, thank you so much for attending. Do not forget to email us if you would like this feature enabled. So support@inspectpoint.com. And perfect. Awesome. I'm so excited. People are excited. Great feature. Thank you so much for that. Once you get this enabled, if you have any questions, once again, support@inspectpoint.com. With that, we are like just shy of a minute of that half hour. So I will let you go. I know it's close to lunch for many people, so please enjoy that. If you are getting hit with any of this crazy weather that's going on, please be safe. And if you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thanks again.